You know how people are always saying, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it? Maybe you took that idea at face value, but maybe you were just a little bit skeptical. What you're noticing is that it isn't really the circumstances that keep repeating, it's the patterns. That's what this is, a practical guide to those patterns, so that by the end of it, you look at not just history, but news, politics, maybe even your own life differently. I'm Anne Grace Evans, and this is a practical guide to American history. If you've always found history boring, I understand. Most times when people teach history, it is boring. It isn't their fault. Teachers only have so much time to cover so much material, but the result is that it feels sort of like a list of random lifeless facts. There are two ways to learn history: as a series of short stories or as an archaeological dig. You're probably used to the first way, the story approach. The story approach tends to look at history as snapshots in time, little episodes that we can learn something from, like a fable or a parable, like Washington crossing the Delaware or Lincoln giving the Gettysburg Address. These things are monumental and remote, more legend than fact. And we set them up this way because we need some common legend or touchstone to have a better idea of who we want to be. How we understand ourselves in the world is through stories. The problem with them is that they give no context. Thinking of history as some fictional story or fairy tale just isn't relatable. It makes us want it to get wrapped up neatly at the end, packaged up as either good or bad. That's just not how things work. Historic events and figures can't be put into neat little boxes. They just are what they are. So we turn instead to the archaeological approach. How one event builds on another. This approach treats history more like a science. It follows inventories and census records and first-hand accounts, digging back through the layers of history to discover the origin of an idea and how it changed through the ages with each new addition of material. The process requires weighing the evidence and seeing where it takes you rather than having a neat little anecdote. It's more nuanced, but messier. So to some extent, you need both approaches. Let me explain. The Lakota Sioux said, "A people without history is like wind on the buffalo grass." Without the context that only a shared history can give, people don't have the same deep-rooted connection to their community and collective identity. In the modern world, ideas like ethnicity and heritage can seem outdated, even dangerous in some cases. It's true, we're all the same, and yet all completely different. The way the human brain works is textbook. Literally, there are whole textbooks devoted to predicting and explaining our behavior, no matter who we are or where we come from. Developments like agriculture, fire, the wheel appeared independent of one another because there was a human need, and humans addressed it. Trauma, no matter who you are or what has happened to you, behaves predictably in all of us. Even that game we all played as kids, The Floor is Lava, is an example of this. No one taught you that game, did they? Yet every kid just instinctually ended up playing some version of it. At the same time, every single individual is genetically unique, with both nature and nurture determining our different motivations and hopes and fears. So now that we in the 21st century understand this, have we evolved past needing a group identity or collective cultural touchstones? Of course we haven't. For some perverse reason, people seem to need origin stories. Look at Europe after the Black Death, or Germany after the First World War. In each case, the death or destruction of one idea about the meaning of existence left a void that was quickly filled by a new idea. We need a simple, common lens through which we can make sense of our lives and the decisions we take. When the Soviet Union collapsed in the 90s, new Russian President Boris Yeltsin set up a contest for Russians to create a new unifying ideology. They realized, at a moment of turmoil, they needed a blueprint to answer questions like, what sort of society should we be working toward? What kind of behavior should we expect of our leaders? And what norms and values should we model our lives on? An origin story lays out that blueprint. And like it or not, history is what gives us our origin story. But also, those stories don't exist in a vacuum. They happen through different powers and forces colliding, and only by understanding how things have come to pass can we understand how far we've come and how far we haven't. That's why the debate over how to understand and learn about our past is so divisive, because we know how important it is that we get it right. Luckily, you have me to guide you. Before we start, it's important that we lay out some of these patterns. When embarking on any study of history, and this goes for any time period, it is important to first ask, what is the currency and who has it? Is it oil? Is it having the ear of the king? Is it data? Whatever it is determines the next pattern. When one group has an advantage over another, they will push it. They might do this by stealing land or resources or even labor, but when someone does hold the currency of the moment, it tends to make them believe that they're entitled to do so. How people respond to oppression then becomes another factor in history. If you've drawn the short end of the stick from society, you're really only left with a few options. You can accept the way things are, you can seek to change things by challenging those in power, or you can blame someone less fortunate than you. Revolution and uprisings occur when leaders don't take into account that the peace and stability of their society is only as strong as its weakest point. That if things don't change, people will rise up to change them. Unfortunately, it can also be true that people direct all that anger towards the wrong target, suspicious that the person on the rung below them might be looking to supplant them. This can cause even greater unrest and tragedy. Finally, turning to our history specifically, a pattern that occurs and reoccurs is people seeking freedom from arbitrary justice, or in other words, due process. This is what provides people with the freedom to pursue the American dream. And something you've no doubt gleaned from the quote at the very beginning of this guide: nothing is ever truly over. We get to take part in this chapter of the story, but we're all just living through what will be tomorrow's history. So in this spirit, I've set out to document as much of American history as I can over 30 episodes. I'll try to tell as many people's stories as I can with as much empathy as I can, keeping in mind that I don't share some of their lived experiences. For that reason, I go into greater depth on certain subjects, relying more heavily on primary sources. These are companion pieces to the main narrative of our history. Obviously, I can't get to everything, though I do cover a lot. Even style and aesthetic, which often get left out when we teach history. If some topic really speaks to you and you want to go deeper yourself, I'll have that resource for you in the show notes. My goal is that you come away feeling like you understand the country you live in a little bit better and have some idea of how to navigate its ups and downs. This is my love letter to America and its history, warts and all. Ready? Let's begin.